I'm going to show you an extremely long sculpted nail that is all done with Double Dip's Valentine's Day kit, and I'll put a link to that as well as just the color names in the description box below. And just so you guys all know, that kit is only going to be sold through the 14th of February, so if you want to get it, now is the time, and there are some limited edition colors in it, and there's some really pretty glitters that I'm actually really excited for the summer to use because they're so sparkly, and we like sparkles around here. So I hope you guys love this nail. Like I said, it's extreme, it's crazy, it has a spinner in it, and just all kinds of rhinestones and glitz and glam, so I hope you love it as much as I do, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well.
So we're going to start by using clear acrylic just to create a smooth transition between the nail bed and the form. So if you've never sculpted on a form before, you can see that I have fit the form to my nail, I've cut open the sides, and I've pressed it into a nice smooth point all the way down to the tip. I missed recording actually applying the form on this nail, but I will put a link in the description box below to a video where I put a form on it if you want to see that. So now I'm going to use the color Fingers Crossed 612, and this is probably my favorite one out of the kit. It's so hard to say, but these light shimmery pinks, I'm all about them, so I am absolutely obsessed with that one. But we're going to use that, and it's going to be used to sculpt an almond-shaped nail. Instead of some of the other light pinks I have that are glittery, this one has a really like white silver shimmer in it, which I do love. Instead of like a pink glitter, it's actually more icy looking. And then before that acrylic fully cures, I have a piece of wire with a bar bead attached to it that's not cooperating with me, and I'm going to use that little bar bead hinge spinner base on my nail. So I'm going to press that into that wet acrylic that's not so wet anymore since I kept dropping the thing. And I'm going to set that so that the wire goes straight down the center line of my form. And as you can see, it's tipping off to the side more and more and more. I will fix that, and I'm going to hold that in place until the acrylic sets enough that it's not going to do that, because you want that bar to go straight down the center line on that form. So if you aren't using a form that has a center line, you may consider drawing one beforehand with a Sharpie so that you do have a line to match, so it does go straight down the form. So the next color we're using is Sticky Date, which is 366, and this one I believe is the one that is the limited time only color. And this is a very bright, very sparkly pink. And this is the one actually that I was thinking about and saying that I can't wait for the summer for, because it just gives me like tropical vacation vibes. So we're going to do just a little glitter gradient down from the cuticle. I think that adds some length to the nail. So even if the nail itself isn't really that long, it just makes it seem like it's going farther. So we're going to bring some of that farther down the nail and just kind of get some of those bigger chunks of glitter here and there over the top of the light pink. Then we're going to encapsulate the nail with a layer of clear acrylic. The one thing I do want to say about sculpting this is that this nail is so difficult to file. So difficult, in fact, I didn't record it because I needed to have, because when I record stuff, my camera actually hinders my vision to what I'm doing because it gets in the way. And I didn't want to have that mess with this nail because it was so hard to file. So try to minimize the amount of filing you're going to need to do. And then on the other end of the wire, we're going to be doing just a little bit of clear acrylic as a base and to hold that bead in place. So now using the color Chanel Rouge, which is 686, and a brighter red than I have used from Double Dip before. The ones I've used previously are more of like almost a burgundy color. We're going to be using that Chanel Rouge to sculpt our set of lips. And so we're going to do that on nail form backing to start with. Just kind of set down a bead and then pull it into the basic shape of lips, and then use the tip of your brush to carve in the different, the upper lip from the lower lip, and then also use your brush to add just a little bit of lip texture. And then before that's completely set, pick up the pair of lips, set them down on top of the end of the wire, and then kind of form them around so they give you sort of that hint of the shape of the form that's underneath. So they're not just straight and they're not completely curved, but kind of halfway in between. And now using the color Wild One, which is 1328. And it looks redder in the video. It's actually more of a berry color. So it's really pretty. It's not like your classic red glitter. I wouldn't say it's like a Ruby Slippers type of glitter. It's more of a, I don't know, wild berry pie, I guess, if you want to know that weird description of it. We're going to sculpt a large heart. And this heart is approximately, so the distance between, or the length between the bottom of the point between the two bumps and the point at the very bottom of the heart should be about the same length as your bar bead. And if you wanted to measure it and make it exactly the same length, you absolutely could. I eyeballed it and my heart was a little smaller than it could have been, but it's okay because you never really see that stuff anyway, especially if your bar bead is is something that is really unintrusive like mine and is just black, or say it was red. But we're going to glue that heart onto the bar bead like so, hold it in place till it sets up. And then after we have that, we can continue working lower on the nail. So when we're working lower on the nail, I'm going to use the color Pretty Petals, which is 1342, and is actually quite similar to the one that we used before, the Sticky Date. This one, instead of just being pink though, it has almost a lavender hue in it as well. But they're very similar, chunky hexagon glitter type acrylic color. No base color, it's in a clear base, which I think is really pretty. I like glitters sometimes when they have pigment in the base and they're not just a clear base, but they always look so deep when it's a clear base, especially when there's enough glitter in them that you don't see through it because there's just this, layer after layer after layer of glitter. I love the way that looks. And that's what these are. And then I'm just going to go back through and, hop around like a maniac, which I tend to do. I'm going to add a little more bulk to my lips. As I was sculpting the tip out of the stiletto, I was like, wait a minute, my lower lip needs a little bit more volume. We need to give it just a little bit more there. So I just put another layer on top. But now we're going to go back and we're going to be using that Pretty Petals to finish off the stiletto. Same thing, guys. If you be really careful and minimize your filing. The reason this nail is so hard to file is because the major part of where the structure of the nail is has no structure at all because it's just a skinny little piece of wire. And so if you hold this nail wrong or you twist it or you bend it, it's going to bend it and you're going to lose that beautiful straight shape. So try and do your best to minimize the filing. And I know that that's one of those horrible things to say because, you're going to have to file, but just keep that in mind and be cautious when you're sculpting. Then we're going to encapsulate the tip of this nail, the stiletto. And as you can see, mine's not perfect. You don't have to be perfect. Just know that whatever you're going to do, you're going to have to file carefully. In fact, I didn't even use much of an e-file for this because I just wanted to kind of go slow and steady. And so now we're going to be removing the form. Again, super precarious proposition because you don't want to bend that wire. And now going underneath the nail to add a little bit of structure to the lip area and where the lips attach to the stiletto portion. As you can see, it's kind of wiggly because there's not much holding it together. It's just a tiny little bit of acrylic where the lips are touching the stiletto. You're going to want to add some reinforcements underneath it. So if that's a little bit more clear acrylic going from the lips to the stiletto and then going back over the lips with another layer of the Chanel Rouge, that's going to give it some more it's going to cover up the little end of the wire and just make it look a little more finished. And now going back to my wild one, I'm going to be flipping my heart over and applying acrylic to the back side of the heart. I am doing this kind of like an idiot because I didn't protect my hand at all from the wet acrylic. That being said, I didn't get any wet acrylic on my hand, but just if you are going to do this, please, learn from my bad example and don't do that. Put something between your hand and that close contact potentially with wet acrylic. And just fill in that heart. It does take a little bit more acrylic to fill on in the backside because you are going up and over that bead. So now, once again, nail form backing, we're going to be sculpting the word love. So to do this, I went back and forth about 50 times trying to decide what color to use to sculpt love. And then I thought to myself, well, you goof, why don't you just use 4? You got 4 letters, use 4 colors. So I am using 4 colors. This first one is going to be the Chanel Rouge, which is the red. And then after that one, I'm going to be using the one that's called Fingers Crossed, which is the first color I used, and it's that light pink. And so after my L sculpted, I'm going to set down that bead of the lighter pink and then use a dotting tool, which is actually built into the end of my 3D brush, which is awesome. And I'm going to dip that into some clear acrylic and then use that to sort of stretch the acrylic out and get my O. As you can see, the acrylic had no problem with that at all. It stretched beautifully. There's no cracking going on. The lines are smooth, very easy. And then after you have that part done, we're going to sculpt our V. Kind of smooth things out here and there wherever I can. And to sculpt the V, I'm going to go back to the Wild Hearts color, which is my berry glitter. And unfortunately, it just really looks red on the video. And, it is what it is. But just keep in mind, I hate it when videos don't show the true color of things. It drives me crazy. And it happens a lot. So, one of those things. But this one is so pretty. Again, they're all pretty. They're all like that wonderful, pinky red hue. And then after that, I'm going to be using a color I haven't used yet in this design that is called Pretty Petals. No, it is not. It is called Pink Winks. Sometimes I forget what I'm talking about. No, Pink Winks 662. And I'm going to be sculpting my E. And I also went back and forth about whether I want to do this love lowercase and uppercase. And I ended up doing both as well. The mind of somebody that can't make make a decision. So then we have the first part of the E, and I used my dotting tool again to start making that hole in the center of it, and then fixed it up a little bit with the tip of my brush. And then I'm going to sculpt the center or the bottom little tail of the letter E going around. And then after we have that done, let that set up really well. Set this piece off to the side, and then you're going to want to grab another nail form backing, and we're going to use more of that pink Winks, which is the color I used for the E. And that one's almost purple, almost lavender, but just not quite. And then after we have that, and we're going to be sculpting 2 little hearts. So I'm going to be using the pink Winks and Chanel Rouge, and I'm going to make one slightly larger than the other, but neither one anywhere near as big as the one that we sculpted for the spinner. These are much smaller and more of a, I don't want to say an afterthought, because that's not what they are. They're not really the main focus though of the design. They're just a little, bystander, an innocent bystander. So 2 teeny tiny little hearts with those, and then let those set up as well. And now after this nail's filed, we're going to be gluing the love to the middle of the stiletto, and then one of the hearts above it, that's the one that's the pink Winks, the bigger one, whichever one of yours is bigger, and then the heart below it, like so, or the red heart, the Chanel Rouge. And now using some very bright red acrylic paint, I'm going to be adding some highlights to the lips, really to kind of amplify the natural wrinkling that happens on lips and the creases. And then using a bubble style highlight, almost like it's a balloon, we're going to be doing some highlights on our letters. So this is a line and a dot is pretty much the plan there. And then using black paint, we're going to be doing a partial outlining on the letters and the hearts. The reason we're doing a partial outline instead of going over the entire letter is they don't need that. But if you outline the opposite side of your highlights, it gives you just this really nice extra dimensional pop off the nail cartoony look, which I adore. So we're going to be doing all those little outlines, and then just a little bit of outlining in the center of the lips to really kind of set them apart. And now on the main part of the nail, we're going to start our rhinestone application. So I did this in several different segments. So the first one is going to be the actual little almond nail, and then the exposed wire above the spinner. So we're going to apply the jewelry gel, and then apply some gel top coat, and then grab some rhinestones in various shades of pinks, and we're going to be placing them down, and also red and some silver, but mostly pink. I'm a pink person. So we're going to be doing all these different rhinestones, different colors, different shapes, and placing them down. They also have different finishes. So some of these are just your classic rhinestone look. Some of them are iridescent. Some of them have like a blue overtone hue. Some of them are just a pink, some of them are yellow pink. Mix it up, grab a whole variety, and just sort of fade those glitters or those rhinestones down over the glitter that's in the background so that you have a nice little mix. And then after that's cured, we're going to be applying jewelry gel over one side of the big heart spinner. So don't do the whole thing. Just do, either whichever side you consider to be the back or front, and then apply some gel top coat over that wet jewelry gel, and then press your little rhinestones into that as well. This time I'm going to use some that are slightly bigger since I have the space, and just keep filling it in. The great thing with working on top of jewelry gel rather than trying to do this with, say, nail glue, is that you have all the time you could possibly need to manipulate and move around those rhinestones before you cure it. And once it's cured, it's set, and they're very durable, which is probably the only durable thing about this nail. But you have a lot of time just to kind of make sure that everything's in the right spot, because sometimes, you might think that you want to place one there, but then as you're putting other ones around it, they just move slightly so they kind of fit into their spot. That's the thing with rhinestones, is that until you start filling them all in, you don't necessarily know where they're going to need to be at the end, because they kind of nest together and they fit in very well together. So you just need to kind of play around with them until they're all in their preferred locations. Just kind of keep filling them in. I have a bunch of tiny silver ones that I'm going to use to fill in any of the gaps, as well as some small pink ones just around the edges mostly. And then after that's cured, I'm going to do some jewelry gel below the spinner because I had more exposed wire. So anytime I had exposed wire, I just added a rhinestone because that works out well. And plus it's easier to do that than try to sculpt all the way up to the spinner. At least in my opinion, is to just sort of fill in where you need to. And then on a couple different spots on the stiletto portion of the nail around the love and the hearts, we're going to be doing a little blob of the jewelry gel, then some glossy gel top coat. Look at that glitter, you guys. I love the glitter. Just apply that down the entire nail, and then you can still see kind of the bumps of where the jewelry gel was placed, or try to remember where you put it down. And then we're going to be placing some more of those little rhinestones in there. And the reason I'm using rhinestones instead of crystals for this particular nail is because there's so many of them, and for the most part, I don't necessarily think that the difference is notable enough for a practice nail like this one is to use the expensive crystals. But after that, apply some top coat over the back of the spinner and this nail is done. I absolutely love it, and that spinner is addictive. It spins so well. And I said that this nail isn't very durable, but I even let Melody play with it for a while and she didn't break it, which is good. But it is just so much fun. And I love doing these extreme little sculpted ones on myself too. So I hope you guys love it as much as I do. And like I said, I'll put all the double dip information in the description box below. And don't forget to check that out before the 14th of February. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.